Secretary of State of the US, John Kerry, and Russia's Sergei Lavrov have been giving a press conference. And let's give that a shot now. Here we go.
It's to elect their own legislative and executive organs of power, and of course the role of the Russian language as the official state language. This needs to be decided by Ukrainians themselves, but the solution needs to be mutually acceptable for all political forces.
All illegal armed groups must be disarmed, that all illegally seized buildings must be returned to their legitimate owners, and all illegally occupied streets, squares, and other public places in Ukrainian cities and towns must be vacated.
Well, let's speak to Famil Ismailov from the BBC's Russian service. Lots of statements made there. What do they exactly mean? What have we heard? Break it down for us.
Well, I mean, we can see definitely a change of tone. There are two major points that were made there. One, Mr. Lavrov did not mention federalization, as the Russian government insisted before, federalization of Ukraine, making a federal state. It's now a unitarian state. More than that, when he was pushed about, but you were for federalization a few weeks ago, what's happened now? He said some federal state would envy some unitarian states just because those unitarian states have better, different constitutional order that makes it even better than federalization. What exactly happens here is that Russia is not for the eastern Ukraine to become a totally autonomous part of Ukraine, but at the same time they will be given more rights, especially about Russian language, use of Russian language and so forth.
I want to go straight to our Europe editor and speak to Gavin Hewitt, who is there. Gavin, your reaction to what we've heard?
Well, I think against all expectations, all the parties that came here, the Americans, the Russians, the Ukrainians and the EU, believe they've achieved a breakthrough in this sense that it will lead to a de-escalation of the tension in the days and weeks ahead. And key to this is that those armed groups that were occupying buildings, they will have to withdraw. Those armed groups, particularly in eastern Ukraine, those pro-Russian groups who had got weapons, will have to hand in their weapons. And also that those protesters won't be prosecuted. They will essentially enjoy an amnesty. And all of this is intended to be the first stage in a dialogue and a national debate, hopefully settling this issue of how to keep Ukraine together.
I also want to bring in Olga Ivshina, my colleague in Donetsk. Olga, thanks for joining us. The reaction there from the ground in Ukraine?
Well, generally the situation here is much calmer today than it was yesterday. For example, yesterday I was constantly hearing military helicopters and military airplanes in the sky. Today, maybe heard it just a few times. But generally people are still pretty much worried. And the protesters, pro-Russian protesters, keep occupying the main building here. And they say they are not going to surrender at all, and they're not going to get out of the buildings or put their weapons down. They say they're going to stay here until their voices are heard, until their main demand, the referendum, is organized.